Hey there, how are you? So it's so great to have Jennifer Gregg here, who provided the amazing taco deli that we have in the back. She's from Vital Farms. She's the Vice President of Operations there. And we're really happy that she could come and talk to us for our first discussion this morning. And again, thank you for being here so early. Thank you all for being here so early. I hope you're getting snacks and getting fulfilled and nourished. And I want to thank Vital Farms for providing this. It's really important to make sure people are fed at food conferences.
That's right. It's a pleasure, and frankly, I personally enjoy it. So I'm glad that we were able to make it happen.
That's great. So I want to dive right into this discussion with you. You've had a really interesting professional journey, at least from my perspective. You started in HR at Vital Farms, and that's very different than operations. But you told me that you're a people person, and that this job that you have right now really brings in the human element of everything that Vital Farms is trying to do. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So the first part of my career, I was in human resources. I got a master's degree in how to do human resources. And when I joined Vital Farms, that's really what I started doing, just sort of building our talent team and developing our people. In 2017, we opened our own processing facility. And it was really an opportunity for us to think about how we treated our people, not just how we packed eggs, but how we grew people, provided opportunities for professional development. And we talk a lot at Vital Farms about a stakeholder model. Mm-hmm. And so really every decision we made, we made considering how we took care of our stakeholders, and the people and the crew members were a primary a focus for us. We figured everything that we had to do with our people resources.
Absolutely. I want to take a step back and really sort of explain the history of Vital Farms and why this is such a different egg company.
That's a deep question. So our founder started raising hens actually here in Austin, just outside Austin on Onion Creek. And what he realized was if you let the birds go outside and be on pasture, you get actually a better egg. And he felt like he could bring ethically produced food to tables across the country, do it at scale. Mm-hmm. And so we work with a network of around 275 small family farmers, and they do what we say on our packaging. They let the birds outside every single day. They are focused on improving the animal welfare, but also the food, right? I think I told you when we talked before, part of my personal journey was focusing on how I could improve the health of my family through food. Sure. And so when I joined Vital, I had been on this kind of mission and reading food labels and just trying to figure out what we were eating. And I sat down for coffee one day with our CEO, and I thought, actually the answer is just real whole food. Mm-hmm. And I found an opportunity to support just real whole food at scale. And so we're able to give families across America access to good and nutritious food.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to this processing plant point that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. We've seen so many disruptions during the pandemic, especially around processing plants. We've seen workers really suffer at a lot of these places. They were suffering before, in lots of different ways, but then the pandemic really made some of these workers sick, and a lot of them passed away. Why is building your own processing plant so important?
So there are a few reasons. Building our own processing plant allowed us to create meaningful professional growth opportunities for our crew, right? We could bring people in, create an environment where they're respected. I'm not an operations expert, right? I don't have all the answers, but my job is to support the people, listen to them. What do you think you need to do your job best? And we provide those opportunities and resources. That's why it's important for us to have that facility. Separately, during the pandemic, we really were able to find value in the culture we had created. We have a culture of caring for people. And so our teams came to work every day, and they rallied in the hallways around how they could feed families across America. And it was something that if you hadn't seen it, you wouldn't believe it. But we had teams of people saying, all right, put your hand up, high five everybody. We are going to put eggs in a box to feed families across this country.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it's really just part of our culture. We are aligned around something much bigger
Sure.
than just selling eggs.
Well, it's such a different paradigm where you're asking crew members and the people you work with what they need rather than telling them what they need.
That's right. And, one of the things I think that's important, you mentioned that the health impacts to manufacturing workers across this country during COVID. We were really fortunate that we kept our people healthy and safe, right? And we did that by asking them what they needed, what made them feel safe. We have had a mask mandate in our facility for the past 2 years because when we asked them, what will make you feel safe when you come to work every day, that's what they told us.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, again, it's like listening to people.
It is absolutely listening to people. And I think I sort of joked in the past that I'm sort of the poster child for you don't have to have all the right answers as long as you have the right intention. And my job is really just about providing opportunities for our crew members to do their best work. And, there's a book I read back in the day called Everybody Matters. But the sort of the crux of it is, as employers, we have an obligation to take care of the people who are in our span of care. We have an obligation to make sure that when we send them home at the end of the day, they're safe, healthy, they haven't been injured, but also that they're not beat up and disrespected and unhappy. That's not how we contribute back to the communities in which we live.
Well, people who are happy at work will stay there.
Yes, absolutely. It makes all the difference. And we've all had those experiences, right? Where we worked with someone or for someone. Changes the way you go about your life. But at Vital Farms, we certainly prioritize the health and welfare of our animals, but we look at our crew members the same way.
Sure, and I love that you phrased it as an obligation. It's a responsibility that all companies should have. I want to talk a little bit more about the pandemic because I think more eaters, especially younger eaters, want to know where their food comes from. They want the story behind it. They want the transparency. They want the traceability. And I'm wondering, do you think this model will work for mission-driven companies well into the future? And how can big companies change to do something like what you're doing?
So it's interesting. I mentioned when I joined Vital Farms, I had been on this sort of like food wellness journey. And what I realized was there's just a bunch of, bullshit out there, right? You look at these packaging labels and you just have no idea. And I think, frankly, as health became the focus of our country over the past 2 years, people are really connecting the dots. What I put into my body matters. And it is, quite frankly, one of the primary indicators of how you will feel and how you will, go about your life.
Sure.
And so I think as consumers are more focused on honest food, understanding, yes, this is a real food product. It comes from a company I can trust.
Right.
I think companies that are doing what we do will be just trusted members of the family, right? Moms, dads,
Sure.
grandparents go to the grocery store and they see Vital Farms and they know, oh yeah, I watched those chickens who laid my eggs. I watched them go outside on pasture. I know exactly what they're doing. They're not locked up in a barn or a cage.
Right.
It's real food. It's honest food.
Yeah, that's such a good point that it's real food instead of a lot of the stuff that we've been shilled at for a very long time. We're also seeing people pay more attention to the environmental impacts, the animal welfare impacts. And when you and I last spoke, we talked about this idea of true cost accounting in food systems and the real cost of what we pay at the grocery store. So Vital Farms eggs might be a little more expensive, not that much more expensive, to be honest, but they might be a little bit more expensive. But the other sort of benefits they're providing far outweigh those costs.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation because, we're not the least expensive egg on the shelf. when people buy a Vital Farms product, they're actually putting their dollars into something more than just that egg. They're supporting our crew members. They're supporting the environment. We have over 275 small family farms. All of those pastures are maintained organically. We are helping to preserve and improve the environment. And that comes with, as you said, a small cost. But I think what consumers are willing to do is to invest those dollars to know that they're doing good.
Yeah.
They want to feel good about it. And, you know, the beautiful thing about eggs is it's the perfect protein, right? You can, you know, for $4, you can have several meals with good protein that's good for your body. And that's, you know, quite frankly, it's a little bit of a deal.
Can you tell me more about the worker environment and what folks, you know, you've talked about how they tell you what they need and what they want, but what does that really look like?
Yeah, so actually I'll give you one example, and there are many, but this one's kind of top of mind for me. We have something called the Idea Wall at ECS. ECS is Egg Central Station. It's a very fancy name for where we put our eggs in a box. And we have this Idea Wall. And in 2021, we had over 200 ideas brought forth from our crew members. And there's just a whiteboard in the hallway. You go up there, you write your name, and or you don't have to, and your idea. Somebody had an idea about the way that we manage eggs when we accidentally print on the side of them. We don't want to waste them.
Right.
How can we continue to use those even though you may not want them in your package? So we take those ideas. Our leadership team goes back to the people who presented them or asks the team, and then we turn them into reality. Kind of a fun thing that happened recently, we had a competition to create a T-shirt. We're all about T-shirts at Vital Farms. And we had one of our crew members design a T-shirt to commemorate over 200 Idea Wall ideas implemented in 2021.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
I want to step back to the farmers for a minute. So you have exclusive contracts with farmers, and I'm wondering, what does it look like when you start establishing that relationship?
Yeah. So one of the opportunities that I have at Vital Farms is to support our farm support team. And so I've got a team of people who actually go out into communities and talk about becoming a Vital Farms farmer. Now, the thing that's really fortunate for us is farmers tell other farmers, hey, you should talk to Vital Farms, right? So that's our primary way of getting the word out there is they refer each other, right? Just like any other job, you want to talk to the people who are doing it. And so we reach out to farmers in communities all across the pasture belt. So kind of that place where it's not so cold in the winter, the birds don't go outside, not so hot in the summer, they don't want to. And we go out, we talk to them a little bit about, you know, the financials.
Sure.
If that makes sense for them, we talk to them about our standards. And then we have a team of people who help new farmers construct barns. We've got some pretty specific things that we look for. And it takes, 6 to 12 months to build a new farm. But we actually just last week got the results back from our Net Promoter Scorecard. So every month we talk to a group of our farmers such that we talk to every farmer twice a year. And that's on top of just the regular, we have people out on their farms every week helping them. And the feedback that I heard over and over again from our farmers is the support and the appreciation that we get from Vital Farms is not like anything we've ever had. And we've got some folks who used to farm for big guys.
Sure. And
right?
I wanted to ask about that because if you've been a factory farm in the past, it must be very hard to transition to this kind of farming.
What I find is that it feels good. So I had an opportunity, actually just before COVID, to sit down at a dinner table with one of our farmers. And what he told me was Vital Farms allowed he and his wife to raise their children in rural America to have a meaningful income and not have to go out and get a job in town.
Right. And that's what so many farmers have to do.
That's kind of, that's the stuff that motivates me,
Sure.
right? If that's important to you, to keep your family there in that community where you grew up, we provide them those opportunities. And back to your question, it's different, right? There's a farmer that's come into my mind right now who used to have turkey houses. So he spent a lot of time and energy sort of renovating those houses so that he could work for Vital Farms. And he said, no one in that organization cared at all about me as a person.
Right.
And no one in that organization would have ever come to my farm and talked to me about how they could help me improve outcomes. And that's actually the whole team has one goal, improve outcomes on the farm.
Yeah.
And so, we have to, right? They're a very important stakeholder. When a farmer is supported and their birds are productive, they have a better income stream. We have a better supply.
Right.
And so it's that stakeholder model, right? We're all working together to sustain each other.
Those transition costs must be something, though.
They are. Yeah, I mean, it's less than you think, and it's more about putting in doors so that the birds can go outside. But again, we have a model that we think is sustainable for the farmers and for Vital Farms.
Well, and I think it's so important that farmers themselves don't feel like they're just cogs in a machine.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you story after story, but that's it. They're part of our family. We talk to them as our farm family. They are part of Vital Farms. And you see actual real farmers featured in our advertising and things. Those are our people. They're just as much part of Vital Farms as I am.
And this idea that you're going out to talk to them, they're in contact with you regularly, that doesn't happen with factory farm models.
No, it doesn't. And I will say, one of the things that we love is we bring our farmers together every quarter. We all come together in the same room. We talk about education. We talk about new technology. We give them opportunities to connect, and it's been tough over COVID, right?
Sure.
So we got creative and crafty, and not all of our farmers are super high tech, but just last month we did a virtual farm connect, and we sort of got in the same virtual room with about 117 of our farmers, which isn't everybody, but it's a start.
That's a lot.
And we got rave reviews about just how much they felt like, oh, we're back with our family and friends. And we all get that, right? Like, we miss our people.
I'm glad to be back here.
Oh, my gosh, I know. So that was great, but we've already got big plans for our next Connect in April. And we're going to have every single one of our farmers together. We're finding outdoor space just to make sure that everybody feels great. But it's that. They're part of a family, right? They're part of Vital Farms, and they want to come together and learn from each other.
That's wonderful. So the last time we spoke, and then the question I want to end on, is this idea of conscious capitalism and what that really means.
Yeah, I think we talked about it before, but we can do good in the world, and we can also have great outcomes for our stakeholders. And so you don't have to compromise success as a business because you are raising the standards for animal welfare or for care for people. And I think that in traditional business ideology, there was a trade-off. Yeah. You had to focus on every single penny and every single dollar in order to really drive productivity and people. And we don't find that to be the case, right? We can take care of our people. They will drive themselves to better outcomes, and that's better for all of us. And ultimately, I think that's what's sustainable, right?
Right.
Like, doing good for people and the environment and our animals will actually help the business continue to grow and to do good.
Absolutely. And I think it's, what we're seeing now, especially because of the pandemic, is that mission-driven companies are the ones that are going to survive. They're the ones that are the model, because people are, I don't think we won't go back to normal, right? Because we can't.
That's right. And there's a connection, right? When I talk to people about Vital Farms, it happened just yesterday. They're like, oh, I buy your eggs. Like, that's a connection that you don't have to some of the big brands, because they don't encourage that feeling of contributing to something bigger than just buying an item off a grocery store shelf. When people buy Vital Farms eggs, they know that they are supporting a group of stakeholders, including moms and dads who pack those eggs into a box every day.
Absolutely. It's all about the people. It's about the animals too, but it's about the people.
But it is about the people.
This has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Really appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I hope you guys had some wonderful breakfast tacos from Taco Deli and Vital Farms. So.
Thank you so much. We're going to get a picture real